Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. Tuesday, managed to squeeze this in. Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. And do another King's X album in the series would be the fourth video, fourth release, the third album under their name, and the third album in as many years, actually, which is kind of a significant thing. They did, what, 4 albums in 5 years and 5 albums in 6 years. Anyway, this is the third album on Megaforce, which is an imprint of Atlantic. Faith, Hope, Love. It came out, I said October 2nd. Didn't say that? No, I didn't say that. October 2nd, 1990. So it was 32 years ago Sunday, this past Sunday. So here's my compact disc. And I have it on cassette tape, I believe. But of course, a lot of those cassette tapes are, I'll guess on this. A lot of those cassette tapes are on, are in a box in my basement. The guys. Of course, I have the vinyl. You know what? It's amazing. I can attest here. This is an older pressing too. So I have a bunch of the early records, first pressings, what I think. So I need to pick up the re-releases, although I don't know. I need to. There's no excuse about it. The self-titled, I think I bought maybe the new, because I only know the Out of Silent Planet and Gretchen, and then apparently this. These are older pressings. These are not the ones that they reissued a few years ago. And I know I was kind of gun shy or whatever, just not really up for buying these reissues because I had these, but you know, they might have warranted it. Yep, Megaforce, all the lyrics. I think among the 4 albums, the first 4 albums, the Sam Taylor produced, again another one of the Sam Taylor produced albums. This was the one that I kind of thought this is their best album. This is their most well-known album at the time. In some ways, I mean, Gretchen, you could see, but this was like their sort of most visible album. I mean, just even like this cover art, there's all these hidden things about it, and just has the big name, Faith, Hope, Love, and I always thought it was like a concept, a little bit like Three Sides to Every Story by Extreme, which I have on vinyl too. It's like this is like 3 different, elements of faith and worship to a point, but I mean, I'm Jewish. I never got this totally overt impression from the band in this album that they were a Christian band, even though I've always known and heard about sort of they were kind of put into that category and they talked about spiritual things, but there's a difference between actually being a religious sort of band doing a denominational music and then just a band who's using more from a sort of just a general and abstract or ambiguous term. But I mean, with an album title like Faith, Hope, Love, I mean, this might have been the peak of that whole thing. It does have the single It's Love, which, it's a Thai song. It probably was their highest charted track. Not over my head, I think. I think I read that somewhere. I could look that up. That was, for example, just as an example, I do karaoke over the years. I've done it over the last 20 years or so at some of the sci-fi conventions and at a few, bowling alleys and that kind of stuff. Bars, I don't call them bars exactly. Restaurants that had karaoke. Anyway, if I ever found King's X, because I might look them up, because they were one of my favorite bands and everything, that's the one that would be in there. They wouldn't have any other song. That's the one. And, I think that was the one they were trying to push. I think the label was trying to push to MTV to get it. Even though, while they were kind of lumped in with metal, and this is 1990, before grunge really had started still, that's not a very heavy song at all. It's more of a ballad. It's more of a kind of sunny ballad, almost acoustic-like. A lot of vocal harmonies. It's very Beatles-ish, which a lot of their songs are, but I was just more getting at this album. Among the first 4 albums, I think probably I had the most. I struggled with at points, not overall, but I struggled with like there's a lot going on this record, and I've kind of felt like, especially over time, this album has the most layering, the most experimentation, maybe, especially among those first four. Even though the sound of those first four albums, there's a lot of similarities on a lot, like the guitar riffs, the production, a lot of them. I mean, you could play instrumental passages from four random songs, and I don't know if I could tell you which one it was necessarily, depending on what part of the song is. Ty's guitar, the detuned guitars especially, and Doug's bass. But there's a few songs, and just now revisiting this afternoon, compared to the first two albums, this album was much more sort of democratic in terms of the songs. This really was King's X sort of using the combination of all three members, especially Ty and Doug. It seems like the first two albums, while Ty did some of the vocals, not a ton. He had a little bit, but this is almost like 50-50, not 50-50. I mean, Jerry sings, I think he wrote Six Broken Soldiers, but it's a lot of the songs on here aren't necessarily one majority lead singer. Like one of them, like between Ty and Doug, one of them sings the verse, one of them sings the verses, one sings the chorus, and like vice versa, I think. So that's my reaction. Is like they kind of decided they wanted to write things together. They became the King's X of like a band who was really, with the vocals, specifically, it seemed to be very kind of, everyone was involved. It was more of a team effort in a way, you could say. I mean, yeah, I guess that's what the impression I got with this. But, I mean, if I go-tos on this album, it's a terrific record. I mean, I love King's X, of course, and this is an album that I think that over time, the most I continue to hear a lot of new things from it, but the progressive side of this album, songs like Talk to You and We Were Born to Love and Moan Jam. Moan Jam's almost like a jam band. And then Fine Art of Friendship's another one I kind of look in that vein. Everywhere I go, I kind of champion that track because I think it doesn't get enough attention, and I think it's terrific the way it the sort of quiet part especially, that little meditative. Oh my god! I always wanted them to play that live, and I saw King's X live over 10 times, and they never did it. They might have done it at this point. I didn't obviously see them at this time because I wasn't a fan until '96. This came out in 1990, but We Are Finding Who We Are. I always thought that could easily be like a. It's very kind of the rhythm in that. It's very upbeat and it's a good way to start the record out. It's very almost tribal. Doug's he's doing his, and he, back in this period of time especially, Doug was doing a ton of different kind of vocal stylings. His voice was really good. I mean, he's still good now, but you could tell he was really using his voice in a lot of different ways, and it sounds really good at points. And he's just experimenting. The experimentation on this album is sometimes off the charts. Mr. Wilson's a common song that they played live. I always think of the Marillion song, what's it called? The Cannibal Surf Day with Mr. Wilson. But that's talking about Brian Wilson, mostly referring to Brian Wilson. I don't know if this Mr. Wilson, I always thought the Dennis the Menace Mr. Wilson character, but this might be someone else because the lyrics on it are pretty dark about, chopping block, so-and-so's going to get fired or something else. Like a boss named Mr. Wilson. I'm not to that point. I just got into the Gretchen period. They do a song analysis. Like every song gets comments from some members and some like friends and other people. But I'm not to the point. Obviously, the Faithful. I'm still working on Gretchen at this point. I'm like 80 some pages into this. But when I get to that point, some of this stuff on Faithful Up will make more sense to me. When I do the official book review, I'll try to remember to follow up with that. But on the Greg Prato book, Oral History. But yeah, like We Are Finding Who We Are. That's and that's the first song I think I ever heard from King's X. When I first checked them out, I think I listened to this at Cheapo that one day, and whenever that was, 96, 95 or 96. And again, the whole Lenny Kravitz thing. But it's interesting because Lenny Kravitz is actually mentioned in one of the songs for Gretchen in here. It's interesting. Let Love Rule, Doug was talking about. But like a chorus is being like happy versus sad or something like that anyway, or dark versus up, like bright. But Faith, Hope, Love to me is almost like a Valentine's Day album in some ways. Like these songs, I'll Never Get Tired of You. It's about relationships. To me, I guess that maybe that's a lot of what they were going for. The title track is the longest track on here, like 9+ minutes. I think one of their longest songs, maybe the longest song they ever wrote, actually. I like it. I've grown to like it more. It is slow and meditative. It's like a ritual almost. And there's all those like voiceovers in that and a few other songs. Talk to You, maybe We Were Born to Be Loved, of course. There's all that. I always think of, and the Beatles said all you need is love. There's just so many words. It's almost like Genesis's Battle of Epping Forest at some point. I mean, and I honestly didn't get around to actually reading through the lyrics, if they even have all the lyrics in here. There's so much like extra voicings and spoken stuff. This interesting. There is like some sort of, I don't know if it's a Christian church prayer kind of thing on St. Paul Corinthian, a quote from the Bible, on here. So I mean, they're denying, or they're trying to shy away from the whole Christian thing, and it's hard to not kind of acknowledge why people felt like or believed they were. I know they weren't, but yeah, I mean, this Faith, Hope, Love is an epic achievement. I think even from a production standpoint and from an experimentation standpoint, where it's not gonna, you're not actually gonna sort of get sick and get burnt out on. This is an album that holds up. Now, if I listened to it every day for like 3 months, I would burn out on it. But I mean, back in, if I would have been around 1990, listening to this, knowing them back then, I might have. I don't know. But there's a little bit of like a Zeppelin, like physical graffiti element to this album too. I mean, again, how long is this album? Where I have it pulled up here. I don't have the Wikipedia page. I have it the search. Yeah, it's 62 minutes, so it actually is about almost 10 minutes longer than the last album. It's an epic record. I mean, but the songs aren't, other than a couple tracks. I mean, I think of Moan Jam as being just the song that more people should always think of them for. That even though it does kind of go on and go on, it kind of has a grateful, like Jeff Buckley's Kangaroo, or there's other songs like that where it's the same. King's X is great at kind of repeating vocal lines or parts just for the sake of sort of just having that rhythm and that flow. Even though it's kind of repetitive, it doesn't bug me. I don't get sick of it. Kind of like the song I'll Never Get Tired of You. So, Legal Kill is an interesting closer. I remember reading some stuff about that, but again, it's sort of a justified, killing of someone or something. I forget what that was. It's like almost like it's putting someone out of their misery. I forget. Again, when I get into this, hopefully there'll be more details about the. But I remember reading about that years ago, and I forget what it was about. But anyway, that's kind of it on this record. I mean, it's a record that is a good place to recommend someone who actually has a little bit of a background on progressive rock. I mean, it's still got the groove rock or groove metal or heavy groove rock element that they had with, and I think they stepped it up. They took elements of their first two albums and like added more. It's like adding more to the recipe, to the dinner, to the meal, in some ways. Although again, I don't think it's really conceptual like Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. I mean, it's conceptual on the title, but it's not a story. It's not like storybook. It's just some themes. It's thematic as opposed to sort of more theatrical or something like that. But they really kind of feel. It sounds like at times they kind of threw everything in the kitchen sink in there to see if it worked, and for the most part, I think it does. Especially like those songs I mentioned. We Were Born to Be Loved. That's the one that, of course, Paul Schaefer and the Late Show band would play frequently, coming out of commercials, going into commercials, or going out to a commercial, or coming back from a commercial, and Talk to You, and talking about answering machines and phone calls in 1990, 89. That was when answering machines first started coming out. But those two especially, I Can't Help It, I love too. I mean, again, it's amazing how consistent King's X albums are, especially the early albums are, and this is no exception. And it's like one of those things where it's like, how can I not find this to be their greatest work? It's just, they did this, and they built like this long wait of years they were together, and then they had all this music that sort of started coming out of them, like some bands do. But anyway, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'd be curious what your take is on Faith, Hope, Love by King's X. Again, 1990. I was going to look at briefly before I'm done here. Again, the year that Faith, Hope, Love came out. where it ranks on my albums of the year that year. Well, of course, 1990 was the year Toy Matinee came out, so it finished second. It won 89 with Gretchen, but the next year it finished in second place. It got the silver medal behind Toy Matinee. Third was Belly Button from Jellyfish, and I know some Jellyfish fans that love King's X and vice versa, so that's not surprising. Queensryche's Empire, number 4. Jane's Addiction, Ritual de l'Obitual, number 5. So, I mean, that's a pretty great top 5. I mean, I don't know which year's better, 89 or 90. I think 1990 is a little deeper. Eric Johnson's via Musicom, yeah, number 6. Rush is the compilation that basically got me into a lot of music I discovered. The Chronicles compilation, just a compilation. Fish's debut album, former lead singer at that point from Marillion, Vigil in the Wilderness of Mirrors. Some consider that his best. I don't know if I can disagree with that. The 2 Renaissance compilations, Tales of 1000 Nights, Volume 1 and 2. So George Michael's Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1, which, by the way, Older just came on vinyl. The box set my wife just got. We may be doing a revealing video from her. I don't know. Just showing the whole massive box set for that album. The Death album, Spiritual Healing. Black Crowes, Shake Your Moneymaker. I have a lot of nostalgia for that. In fact, I'd like to get that on vinyl if I don't have to pay a lot of money for it. Van Morrison's, and I mean, I was into a lot of compilations. I was 14 years old then. So it came out. Well, I was 14. Yeah, the fall of 1990. That would have been my freshman year of high school. Rest in Peace by Megadeth. Human Radio, which has a lot of elements similar to Toy Matinee. I found out about them through Toy Matinee and the song, was it Me and Elvis? Yeah. That came out. Styx' Edge of the Century and Pornography, speaking of Extreme, they're the album that had more than words, I think. And then the I'm Breathless soundtrack that Kevin Gilbert did some engineering and production work on, the cues. So 1990, it's always been one of my favorite years for music. And Faith, Hope, Love, well, love Toy Matinee and Kevin, but it was right up there. So again, what's your take on Faith, Hope, Love? What's your take on where does it fall on your 1990 list? I could be asking that question. But please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Thank you for subscribing. If you did subscribe, I really appreciate that. We'll see you next time. I gotta go to Nick Mason now.